Hello, hello, hello. Welcome back to Joe Daddy's Garage. It is Monday, August 14th, 2023. Yes, we are into August, well into August, and I am back. I know that I skipped last week, and I apologize for that. I know I've been doing this live stream for, I don't know, going on 2 years now, maybe? I don't even know how long I've been doing this particular live stream on Monday nights. In the past, I was doing it on two different days, and I had to stop doing that. But I really do like to like to do this on Monday nights and spend time talking about different things going on. And a lot of times we try to, if you're new to this live stream, we do try to talk about classic cars, but sometimes we go off on different tangents, and we may talk about weather, we may talk about the movies, we may talk about crazy stuff going on around the world, which we will talk a little bit about that tonight. But I welcome everybody, and I encourage everybody to participate. It's one thing for me to be here and just try to talk about stuff and bring up topics and subjects, but I encourage everybody to be involved because it helps me do the better live stream when I have questions or something I can respond to, as opposed to me trying to create an hour or to an hour and a half of content just in my ramblings going on. But I do appreciate everybody being here. And again, I apologize for not being here last week. If you're new to the live stream, we encourage everybody by having this. Yes, it's a little bell. It's a reward system, basically. And I give the bell for anybody who is here, obviously, and for good questions and or good answers, depending on what that is. Now, if we come up with something that I can't give an answer to, a lot of times I just don't have time to maybe give a good answer. I have a lot of people over here in this side box who have a great deal of knowledge, and they are willing to share that as well. So again, participate, be part of the process. So the first one in tonight, early in, is Rick Gain. Welcome back, Barry. Do we get an extra Junkyard story this week since you weren't here last week? Well, maybe I can give something. We'll see how that goes. Glad you're here, Rick. Terry Keithley, it's Monday night time. Monday night time for Barry. Please hit the like and thumbs up for him. Thank you kindly. You got this. Thank you, Terry. Glad you're here. Leonard Gilbreth checking in, evening all from the high desert. Yes, it's a dry heat, right, Leonard? Brian B. Welcome back, Barry, and Jello. Or Gello, everyone. And then he says, Helio. That's a good way to start. I like that. Brian says, hey, Barry, I would like to join the live a moment. Yeah, we can do that. Send me an email. And if you would, you probably already have it, but joedaddysgarage@gmail.com. That is how you will contact me, and then we can I'll exchange an invite for you. So that would be great to have you on. Let me see where we're at here. Skipped ahead, but glad you're here, Brian. I think I gave you a bell. You get an extra one. Jerry checking in from the Money Pit in Middle Tennessee. Thumbs up for Barry. Good evening to all. Yes. Thank you, Jerry. Glad you're here. Troy Justin. Good evening from coastal Georgia. Good to have you back, Barry. Well, it's good to be back. And we'll talk about the trip and everything else as we move forward. Robert checking in, the Infernal Craftsman. Evening all. Cold front brought it down to a chilly 100 degrees today. Back to the usual 110 on Thursday. Well, I have no words. Rusty's Restoration. Hello, all from Southern Indiana. Glad you're here, Rusty. Derek Pro. It's been a while. Let's see. Hi, Barry, everyone. Been a while. Was a bit closer to you a few weeks ago and had a break at Hawaii for 10 days. Great weather there. Back to old here. So old here means cold in Australia. So glad you're here, Derek. And since you brought it up, that was one of the things that has been pretty distressing, in effect, is all the crazy fire stuff that went on over in Hawaii. If you've seen any of the footage of that, and the death toll and all that sort of thing. It's really, really frightening, scary stuff to imagine what those people were doing, trying to get away, jumping into the ocean and trying to just get away from this crazy fire. Um, and you always, you wonder what happened. How did this happen? And then I started looking into it a little more, and I realized that this is like one of the oldest towns, let's say, in Hawaii, and there's speculation as to what and why, and we don't want to go too much into that stuff, but it's really really scary for those people, and it's going to be a nightmare to get all that. You can't rebuild some of that stuff, obviously, but anyway, let's step past that. So glad you're here, Derek. Oh, he says back to cold here. Yeah, frozen fingers. He even spelled fingers wrong. And he says, see, fingers. Okay. Jerry checking in. Howdy, y'all. As Robert said, we had to get out the light jackets once the cold front came through. Yeah. Roger checking in from next door. Glad you're here, Raj. Here's a shout out to Roger for being proactive. Um, I was busy doing stuff out here in the garage. I think it was Saturday. And I heard the lawnmower running, and I thought, oh, Roger's mowing his yard. And I guess I was a little, not surprised, obviously, but a little surprised because it was like early in the day, or when the sun was up and everything. And I thought, man, I'm gonna wait. I like to mow when the sun is down, the shadows are coming across the yard, temperature drops some degrees, and I thought, yeah, I'll just wait and do it later. Well, he mowed his whole yard, and usually it's a balance. Like the neighbor across from me on the other side will mow the yard, and then it's I'll mow the yard, and then Roger will mow his yard, and it becomes this who gets to mow the yard first or last in a sequence, let's say. And so again, I heard him mowing the yard, and I thought, I'm going to mow later. I'll just mow when I don't want to mow when the sun's out. And then the storms came, and we had torrential downpour. And I thought, oh, Roger checked the weather, and he knew it was going to rain, so he got ahead of the curve and mowed his yard. So Roger, you get some bells for getting the yard taken care of. And so now it's been, similar situation. It's been too wet in effect, to get the yard mowed. Now it's been raining, and yeah, so the grass is growing really well, really, really well. Let me see here. I'm going to try this because I don't know if Brian's been on before. We're going to see. I'm going to send him an invite, and we'll see how that goes. Let me get back here. Okay. I'm going to pull this banner down for just a second to get it a little more room on the screen. And Evan's Garage. Hey all, hope everyone is doing well. My few hour half floor pan install turned into a multi-weekend full pan adventure. Yeah, that's the way it goes sometimes. Sorry to hear that, but I hope you got it all put together. Crash Rider from Southern Indiana, greetings to all. A big welcome back to the DOG, Duke of Georgia. Be sure to leave a thumbs up. Yes, thank you, Crash Rider. Appreciate that. Charles checking in. Good evening, all. Happy to be here close to on time. Well, close is close enough. You made it within we're only 10 minutes into it, so you're doing pretty good. Lynn says, welcome back, Joe Daddy. Thank you, Lynn. Appreciate that. Ed Cucciarella, hello all from Southern California. Just an FYI, paid $514.9 for regular gas. So $515 for regular. Ooh, yeah, they want you to go electric, don't they? Yay! Yeah, they're pushing that way too hard. Let's see. I guess Mike. I know it says. It could be Mike or Mick. Let's go Mick. How about that? Mick Seth. Leave a comment, and subscribe if you have not subscribed already. Yes. I see you, Brian. I see you in the background there. Give me just a minute. Hey, you're kind of way back away from the whatever you're using for your camera. Okay. Dawn's Manufacturing. Hello, everyone from 106 degree PDX. Oh, there you are, Brian. That looks better. Well, glad you're here, Dawn. Wait. There you go. There's a better bell. Chris Greenaway. Seems like a while since I checked in. It has seemed like a while. I'm not sure when you were here last, but glad you checked in. Derek, in the final stages of a 2-year build, and like usual, nothing but issues with faulty brand new parts. So frustrating and time consuming. Sorry I haven't joined in the streams. Well, that's all right. I understand how that goes with all of that stuff. So, Dave Conville says, good evening. Well, good evening to you, Dave. Glad you're here. Clark Clifford. Hello, everyone. Hello, Clark. Derek says, yes, so upset about the fires there. We were there in 2019, walking the streets, shopping, etc. Had lunch under the banyan, or however you say it, trees. Very sad. Yeah, it's not a good thing at all. Dennis Paulson, hey, hi Barry and gang. Temperature here near record high, 96 degrees. Worst wildfires ever. Low tonight about 62. Thank God fall is coming. I enjoyed your videos you put out on your trip. Well, thank you, Dennis. We could talk more about that as well. So, Brian, I got your email. Okay. Jack is checking in from New Jersey. Says, hello, all. Hello, Jack. Glad you're here. And Chris says, my yearly freshen up has turned into a 3-weekend ordeal. Weather stripping channels and cleaned all new aluminum trim on the windows. Then painted the trunk, lit, and messed up the paint on my new rims. Well, yeah. I'm glad you're getting to it, but it's always frustrating trying to get all that stuff done. Also, sandblasting them down and redoing them. Yeah, that's not fun. Raleigh Pacheco, hello from Virginia. Talking about rain earlier. This is the first year I had to drain water from the pool instead of adding water. Well, that's different. Don't hear of that very often. And Dave Britton says, hi, all. Well, hi, Dave. Glad you're here. I don't know if I gave you a bell or not. I'll give you another bell. And Leonard saying, Derek Pro, I've been watching some videos from down under. One question, don't you all have a dry climate? Can't get over all the rusted XA, XB, and XCS. Okay. All right, so I'm going to bring Brian on, and we'll see what's on his mind. So give me just a second here. See if this works. And if I can do, there we go. Hey, Brian, how's it going?
Yeah, is my mic okay?
I can hear you.
Okay, then it must be okay.
Let's hope.
Hey, first of all, here's my normal hat.
Okay.
But for Monday night,
yeah, you wear the official hat.
I got my Joe Daddy's hat on.
Good.
Yeah.
How you been?
Pretty good. Yeah, I have actually been on once before, like a year ago or something. So it's been a while. But yeah. Something I've learned in the last probably 2 years, and something I wanted to stress with people that have projects, and it's a specific people that have these projects. If they have parts cars, do not throw away any old parts. Because I did that with my project. Because all the parts that I needed were available on the market. So I started tearing my parts car away and throwing away the old parts. But now they're not so available. So I wish I would have kept them.
Yeah.
So that's very important. If you're doing a project and you have a parts car, keep the old parts.
Yeah, and that's something that I tend to do. Like, believe it or not, I started building that convertible project over 5-6 years ago, whatever it was. I kept everything from that car sitting outside and waiting because I knew there was going to be some piece or part or something that you can't get. It's like people tend to forget that the rear seat catches that go on the floor pan. I don't know if they reproduce those now or not, but back then you had to save those pieces, and people would toss the whole pan and go, well, now what? So I mean, that's a
Yeah,
very good thing to bring up.
yeah, because especially when you're in the finishing, like you're in the end of your project. Now I need door fuzzies. I need door seals. Things that maybe you looked 10 years ago when you started that were like out there everywhere are nowhere to be found
Yep.
now.
Yeah,
So
and one of the biggest mistakes I've seen people make is with the coupes is the seal or the stainless piece that goes above the roof, where the seal the window meets it.
yeah, yeah,
I've known several people that they thought, oh, I could just buy these. They'd never even researched it. They would just rip those things out and throw them away. Well, they don't make them for the coupe.
yeah,
They do not make them for the coupe. So I always stress to people, especially if somebody's going to scrap a car, salvage those pieces because somebody needs them.
yeah,
Somebody.
yeah, yeah. And you may think, hey, these look like junk, but
Y-
junk is compared to nothing. They're not junk.
Yes.
You have something anyway. So
Well,
even if,
it's kind of like this Hulk sitting behind me.
yeah, yeah. And I was going to ask you a question about that, by the way.
Okay, but that's what I'm using
Yeah,
as I'm putting things together. I'm also using that as a cross measurement to make sure everything is where it should be in relation to the original car.
because
Now,
you have an example.
yes,
Yeah, yeah,
and so if there's something off, I can go, wait a minute, let me see. And I did. The next video coming up. I found some variables that aren't gonna. I mean, they don't matter. Let's say, but they show the difference in even the side to side manufacture of this car. So
yeah. But it's very important that if you're trying to get, it depends on what you're after. I mean, in mine, everything's changed in my plan for my car because of the availability of parts. I wanted to have something that looked brand new when I was done, and I simply can't do that now because it's not out there.
right,
So now I have to change my mind thought. What do I want from this, and what's reasonable?
right,
And you have to change that. Otherwise, you'll drive yourself crazy. You can't get it.
yeah,
So you just have to be willing to change with what's available.
yep. Or do what you can to adapt to
Yeah,
whatever.
adapt to what's available.
Yep,
So and and don't let it discourage you because it's still a car. It's still the car you want. So make that drivable. Make it something you'll enjoy.
yeah,
So
sure.
and don't worry about the rest of it. I just wanted to make that point.
Yeah, that's a valid point. Very good point.
Yeah. So if you got a parts car, don't throw stuff away.
Nope.
Just don't do it. Don't do
You
it.
know, I actually, I mean, I already did that to a sense anyway. But years ago, I had gone and bought parts for my '55 Chevy, and it was, I forget what it was exactly. The guy had, um, I know I bought the windshield and like the back glass from this guy or something, and as I'm there, I'm looking at what he has, and he had a shop similar to mine, only much cleaner. Let's say it wasn't as cluttered. But what he did was he took one car specifically at a time. He had no other projects. He'd roll that car in and take pieces off, like you're saying, sit on it, complete the car, and then when he was fully done, he would get rid of everything else. And so that's how I got like an exhaust system. He had a complete exhaust system for the 55 that was sitting outside. And when I was there looking at parts and getting the glass, he said, "Yeah, you need some exhaust?" And I'm like, "Sure." Well, these were like Flow Masters and everything. And I said, "Oh, what do you want for it?" And he sold it to me for cheap. But the point was, that's where I kind of really thought about it more was keeping what you have until you're done, to make sure you have all those pieces covered.
Because you never know what you might need.
Yeah.
And I guarantee you might need everything.
Yeah.
So,
So what was it? Did,
oh yeah, I was gonna. A question in my head was, I watched you do. I hate to bring it up, but the pony car you got rid of eventually. The convertible, I think it was convertible.
yeah.
And now this one, and this ain't not a smart aleck question, but when is the car not the car anymore?
Yes, that's a valid.
How many parts do you replace before that car is not that car anymore?
That is a valid question.
Yeah, yeah,
And here I've given different scenarios on this.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Now, one perspective, we had our junkyard, right? And
Right.
so you might get a car in there that the I'm not saying this is maybe just a little bit out there, but I'm not saying well, people have done this for years. Well, they've taken a car and cut the front half of one and the back half of another and put them together.
Yeah, yeah.
So which
Like
car is
making
it?
a two door, like making a 4 door into a 2 door, or something like
Well, I've even seen it where they've taken the front half of an Impala that was totaled,
that.
and the back half of it, another car or two different Impalas, and just put them together and make a whole new car out of it. I'm just saying as an example. But then, which car is it? Is it the back half that's the car you put a title to, or is it the front half type of thing? You know what I mean?
Yeah,
But here's a scenario that I've looked at, and I'm not saying that this is the right or wrong way, but let's say you started with this car or any other car, and it was all rusted up, and you replaced the right front apron first. You did that, and then you decided, well, I want to do the shock tower because I think it needs, and then you do the shock tower, and then you said, well, the rear apron's bad, and then you start just doing one piece at a time, starting with the basic car. At what point does it transition?
yeah. That's like the old theory of I have uh, I have that famous president's axe. Now the head's been replaced 4 times and the handle 6 times, but it's the original axe. So
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. They talk about that.
same theory, yeah. Same
Yeah,
theory.
like uh, Abe Lincoln's axe, like you're saying, Abe Lincoln's axe. Where
Oh,
uh,
it was Washington the cherry tree.
oh yeah, Washington. Sorry, yeah,
Yeah,
Washington.
that's how I heard it. Yeah,
Yeah. So he says that well, we replaced the handle, blah blah blah. We replaced the head. You
yeah,
know, so I get what you're saying,
yeah.
and that's a tough question to answer. I know that there's some sort of probably law out there that says after X number of parts, it's
Yeah,
no
yeah, and
longer
I'm not even worried about the law. I'm worried about in our heads when we're building the car.
right.
When is the car not the car anymore?
Right.
It,
And I get
I'm not asking for an answer. I'm just thinking that's something we all think about, right?
yeah, it is.
One thing I noticed when you were building the one we won't speak of was you kept the B pillar because it had the Ford stamp numbers in it. So and there's numbers all over these cars.
Yeah, there are.
Yeah, and so legally, I guess if you want to title it as that car, it's got to be this number. I don't know what those numbers are, but in our head, it's got to make sense too. So,
Sure.
yeah,
Sure, and I'm with you on that. I know that in this case, with this car, we're saving. Believe it or not, there's a lot of pieces being saved
yeah, yeah,
that are definitely related to the car. And it's whatever isn't fully rusted apart. That's why I'm gonna salvage the quarter panels. I'm gonna use the bulk
yeah.
of those quarter
Even though you
panels.
don't have to, you're going to because it's
I'm
part
going
of the
to.
original car. Yeah, yeah,
Right. Now,
yeah,
unfortunately, the like a typical Mustang, well, the cowl rusted out, right? So you start replacing with the cowl, then you got the floor pans, and pretty much you're down to the rocker panels, and again, the A pillars and B pillars. Is that is it justifiable? Sure. And so you can look at it from a variety of ways, but I get what you're saying. I
yeah.
definitely do. Yeah.
I just thought it was an interesting thought that say, well, when is the car not the car? It
Yeah.
was interesting to me.
Yeah. I mean, it's a valid point, and yeah.
But I've got very little metal repair to do in my Fairlane that I'm working on. I mean, very little. There's like a 3x4 patch and a 4x12, the 2 patches in the entire car, and I'm scared of that. And when I watch you build an entire car, I'm going, what am I scared of? Well, because that's not my forte. That's not what I do. So
Right.
I'm scared of it.
And
So
and I get that. I
yeah.
really do.
Yeah. I called you, I think, about 2 months ago, and I said, I've also got to replace part of the transmission tunnel. What's the best? And we discussed that. And we talked about doing the cardboard template and stuff. But And it's just, I mean, take on stuff you've never done, and if it doesn't work well, then cut it back out because it was already bad to begin with. So
Exactly.
just cut it back out. You
Well,
know?
and that's the funny part. Whenever I am doing sheet metal work,
Yeah.
um, there's some people that I couldn't name names. I just some people that I remember from history, let's say. And there was a guy he would build his own aircraft, experimental type aircraft. And he was a metal genius. He could fabricate some amazing stuff. And his words were, if I could make the windshield out of metal, I would. That's how good he was at making, fabricating stuff.
Yeah.
And then, I've had people who do woodworking. Well, to me, woodworking, your chance of error is pretty high, and your chance of recovery is pretty low. So if you're making something out of wood, let's say you have a nice piece of oak or mahogany or something like that, and you're making that, whatever it is, just say it's a post, who knows, a lamp post, whatever, and you make a mistake, you can't fix that. You either modify your design or you start over with another piece of wood.
Yeah,
Metal,
but the only argument I would make about that is wood is way more available than metal is.
well, to a point, yes, but like if I need to make like a patch, like you're saying,
Yeah.
you got a bad spot in the floor or whatever, and you cut it out and you make a new piece, and then you come to find out that, well, I didn't make it right. Well, you grab another piece of scrap and remake the thing. Because welding, it's you can keep on welding stuff together and make a bigger patch and bigger patch, but the point being that you can still fix it. Whereas
Yeah, yeah.
woodwork, you're like, well,
Yeah, start
how do
over.
I
Yeah.
how do wood putty? No, it doesn't look right.
No, no,
You know,
no, it doesn't look right. It's not right.
yeah, it's not right. So,
It's
uh,
Yeah. It's just like anything else. If you're really good at it, of course you're comfortable with it. If you're not good at it, of course you're not going to be comfortable.
right,
But you shouldn't keep doing it anyway.
right,
Because get it wrong, cut it out and do it again.
yeah. That's you know, I think another thing that I do when I look at something as let's say which you consider it difficult or whatever, I always take the approach that, well, somebody's done it before, kind of thing. If
Yeah, yeah.
whether it's putting together sheet metal or it's rewiring a house, somebody else has done this. I mean, it doesn't mean that I'm going to be the best at it, but it means I'm capable of doing it as well. That's the way I look at it. So,
No, and that's a really good way of looking at it because that's absolutely true. Before anybody ever did it, somebody did it the first time.
right.
So you don't have to be an expert at something to do it for the first time because somebody did it first time before you,
Yep.
by definition.
Yep.
So
That's
that's
very
a
accurate.
very good way of looking at it. Very
Yeah.
good way of looking at it.
I always try to tell my kids that too. They would say,
Yeah,
my
but
kids,
they're by the time you start telling them that they're teenagers, they're not listening.
yeah.
So,
Yeah, well, I was trying them when they were young. They would see something, a video of some kid doing something, and I'm like, well, he's doing it. Why can't you? There's, and they would, you put up this mental block that says, well, they have more skill, or they have more talent, or they have, well, learn.
well,
You know,
here's the thing I've looked at too, especially in today when you've got the internet, when there's YouTube videos on all this information you have out there, where you can say, I want to put a lower ball joint in an XXX, and it's probably out there. It wasn't out there 25 years ago.
nope.
Yet people did
Yeah.
it. So the
And
reason they make these videos is because somebody figured it out,
Yep.
and that's it. You can figure it out too. So,
Yeah,
and
I agree.
And be careful on the internet because there's a lot more bad. I don't want to say misinformation because I hate that term.
Yeah.
But there's a lot more bad information than good. So
Yes.
if you don't know enough to understand the difference between bad information and good, then don't listen to what they're saying anyway, because you're already behind the eight ball on that.
Yeah. Yeah.
You got to know enough to know what's bad and what's good.
Yes. That's good advice.
Yeah, Well, thank you very much for allowing me to join.
Yeah.
And don't forget my main point, people, please. If you've got a parts car, don't throw parts away. Keep them.
Yes. Very accurate. And thank you
Yeah.
for that.
All right. Thank you,
All right.
Barry.
We'll see you.
All right. I'm here for the rest of the stream. Thanks.
Okay. See you. Okay. That, like you said, that's great advice. There are times where you're taking stuff apart, and you look at a piece of hardware, or you look at like here's another example. When I was doing Jade, the 68, and I had taken stuff apart in the process of cleaning everything up, and I just threw stuff in a box. And so one day I was putting things back together, and I ran into, or I saw another car that had the hood scraper. Okay, there's a little piece of copper that attaches to the cowl that scrapes the hood, and it's just nothing but it's a grounding strap, is what it is. And I saw that on somebody else's car, and I thought, I remember taking that off. And I went to my goodie box and I dug through it, and it was like, there it is. I have it. Now, I think they sell a reproduction of that, but the point being, I had to know that it existed before I would have even bought one. And mine was in perfect condition, so I just used it. So little things like that, or even the fittings for your hoses, all those little things, it helps to keep all that stuff together just so you can look at it and go, well, this is how it was. And I need to replicate that with new hoses and new fittings. So, but yeah, there's all kinds of stuff that is well worth holding on to, at least until you're done with the project. So, glad Brian was here, and he gets an extra bell. Let's see where we're at. Okay, I think I said hi to Dave. I'm not sure, but we'll say hi to Dave Britton again. And Leonard heads. Okay, so Richard. Oh, Richard. Happy to see you back, Barry. I've learned so much from your videos since I subscribed. Thank you. I stress that all the time. Subscribe, and hit the bell notification as well. I did the giveaway on the Arc Captain welder, which is sitting over here. I did the giveaway video on that. And unfortunately, the person that won it the first time never responded to my contact on him. The second person never responded, but thankfully the third person did. And I don't think they have the bell notifications on to know that I have put out a video. They may have a subscribe, but there's a little bell down there. You need to hit that bell so you get the notifications as well, because I posted those videos and never got a response. So, but I'm glad you're here, Richard. Chris. Barry, any suggestions for redemption? I had a lot of sags and runs in the paint. So you're talking about the wheels and having problems. So here's what you run into. I don't know what kind of paint you're using. I don't know if you're using rattle cans or regular spray gun or whatever. One thing that's kind of going to help you out is your first coat. Don't try to get all the color on. Don't do that. Do a dusting of color. Just get enough on it where you can see there's color change, but you don't have a solid color yet. Okay? What happens is you want to put that paint on there, and whether it's out of a rattle can or a gun, you want to put that paint on, you're thinking, yep, I'm going to get this color on and spray it all over and be done with it. Or I'll come back and put another coat, whatever. But what happens is that paint doesn't have time to set up. You've got all these different angles and creases and whatever and dips, and that paint just wants to flow, right? Now, depending on the temperature and all those sort of things, it just wants to flow. But if you spray a dust coat, maybe even 2 dust coats, what happens is that paint clings or dries to that metal, and it holds on. And then when you put the second coat on, not real heavy, it bonds to that first coat. So you're kind of building it up over time rather than just lay it on and see what happens. Now, that's a whole lot different than doing a flat panel and like a deck lid or something like that, but still a dust coat makes that stuff bond, and then you can go more a little heavier as you go forward. So that's what I usually see the problem with whenever you get runs and stuff like that. Okay, so let's see. Derek was talking to Leonard. Leonard's talking to Derek. Let me go a little further. Okay, Chris. Seeing the end goal and sticking to it with minimal changes, doing a yearly freshen up makes the finished project more obtainable than overhauling the whole car with major mistakes. Yes. Yes. Dave Tyson. Good evening, all. Glad to hear Dave. Let's see. Derek says, Leonard, there's guys in YouTube land that are finding them even near Barry. That makes me cry. They are hiding in barns everywhere in the USA. Talking about the XA, the XB, I think the Falcons that they were discussing earlier. Evan, the ship of Theseus. You replace every plank over time, but it's still the same ship. You know, since you brought that up, I think I don't know if I shared it or not. When we went to the distilleries up in Kentucky, they had the same vats for the mash or whatever that they had since 100 years ago, right? But then you look and they have brand new oak pieces. And basically they replace the oak every, I don't know what the timeline is, year, 2 years, I don't know. So yeah, they're in the same location. They're the same vats in essence, but they replace those planks every so often. So yeah, it's the same vat. Good analogy. All right, Kirk, what choices do I have if I don't have the stainless windows seal track? For a coupe, find somebody who has them. That's really all I can say. There's still cars out there that are rusted to pieces that people are salvaging. There's people that are doing the coupe to fastback conversion, and they're removing those pieces. So you really have to be proactive and go maybe on the Mustang forums. There's groups on Facebook where you can go to the Mustang chats and all that stuff and say, hey, I'm looking for these pieces. So hopefully you can find some of those. I know I had a spare set that I shipped over to Europe somewhere because they made that mistake. They had actually taken them out and bent them up and tossed them thinking there was new ones available. So you have to be proactive and look on the forums and see if people are doing those conversions or if they've got a rusted out Hulk that they're just parting out. So, but I'm glad you're here, Kirk, if I didn't give you a bell. Leonard says, yeah, like the guy that found 269 Torinos, wish I could get that lucky. Chris Greenaway says, Kirk, what car? And he says it's a 67 Mustang. Okay. Chris says, Leonard, he's still looking for quarter glass. And it is a coupe, as I suspected, yes. Yeah, they do not make a repop for the coupe. That was my point in getting those. I don't know if I still have one. And I don't know. I may not. I thought I still had one left, but I guess I don't. Or if I do, it's out of my other storage area. Leonard saying, Chris, I think there's a yard in Kentucky where they have all the Grand Torinos. Okay. Dawn's Manufacturer, I don't know, inlay and laminate wood stuff is pretty easy. Well, yeah, that stuff is. But if you're talking about a one-off piece of whatever, hickory or something, you're trying to make it out of one piece, there's really not much recovery on that. Bob Shoemaker, evening all, a little late. Glad to hear Bob. What about Bob? Dawn, internet makes it faster and cheaper and a lot of times easier. Yes, good statement. Rick, 23 years ago, I gave away a 66 coupe. I'm still regretting it today. Yep. Chris, I'm curious if is there an alternate way to get by? Talking about the stainless? No. It's only going to be finding one that somebody is scrapping out. You know, it's unfortunate. I have this 67 coupe out here that I had planned. I do plan to make that into a fastback. And I was going through the parts inventory, and I realized now I may have a set, but I think they're damaged. I'm whoever took them out, they weren't nice to them. So I don't know if I have a good quality set for that car or not. But that car is going to become, the plan is to become a fastback. So, but I don't know, I'd have to look through and see if I can have any of that stuff around. Todd, working on a 3648 SWT. Okay. I don't know what that is, but good. Rick Stevenson, good evening, everyone. Glad you're here, Rick. Hope everything is well with you. We need to figure out if you're ever going to get that truck cab we talked about. But I'm glad you're here. Sorry I'm late, having a heck of a day. Yep. Kirk, what options do I have if I don't have the window stainless steel? Okay, yeah. So we're there. You have to find either, like I said, find one that somebody's scrapping for the most part. Brian, I forgot to mention I need to paint my car and need your help. So load up the RV and I'll see you soon. You never know. You never know. I'm ready to make some road trips. I really am. I'm ready to make some road trips. CSL RC Lorne, good evening. Good evening. Stay blessed. Thank you. Glad you're here. Michael, hello all. Barry, how did you make out with your Tahoe? Oh, wait, let me get Derek here. He says, goodbye, Barry, everyone. Got to get back to work. Unfortunately, great catching up. Stay well. Okay, glad you're here, Derek. Michael, how did you make out with the Tahoe? Well, it's a Suburban, but same thing. I haven't been able to do anything else with it just yet. I don't understand why the sensor that we put in, which should have been the exact same thing, either it's defective or the computer will not register it. So I have to get some help with that, and I may have to get some sort of a scan tool that maybe interacts with those. I don't know. I don't know what the parameters are. I have my regular scan tool, my code clear, and that sort of thing. But I don't know if it has to be. Somebody said it has to be learning process, but I don't know. So yeah, I'm kind of dead in the water. Now the Suburban runs and drives. It did struggle to start a few times on our road trip back, and it did start, so it kept on running. Gas mileage was not good, but we were towing a trailer with some stuff on it. We had a bunch of stuff in the back of it, but it still felt like it was struggling to maintain any kind of decent gas mileage. Speed was okay, but yeah, it just didn't do well. So, and of course, I had driven it to Ohio to get the fenders and all that stuff, and the check engine light was on. It ran fine. It did highway speeds and all that sort of thing. So I still have to figure out what or how I need to work with that sensor or get another sensor to see if it'll work somehow. So we'll see what happens. Kirk says, thank you. You're welcome, Kirk. Jerry says, Barry, do you have the measurement between the fender aprons where the hood springs mount? Not on me. But if you send me an email, I could probably get those for you. I know that somebody else has asked me about that before. I want to say it's like 44 inches. I want to say it's 44 inches. I might have something written down here from the Mach 1 project. And I don't know if it's the same between the Mach 1 or 69 and 67. So The Mach 1 at the rear, I have 40 and a half inches. 40 and a half. So that's what I have. Robert has pointed out that if he remembers correctly, it's 40 inches. So that's where we're at. I think I had somebody else ask me about that on a 67 or 68, and I may have sent them some pictures, or somehow. I know I took measurements from the blue car that I had out here, and the red car. I don't know if I got it on the red car or not. I think I did, and maybe the other 67. But it's my measurement on Mach 1 is 40 and a half, but like Robert says, on 65 and 6, it may be 40 inches because I don't have one of those around here. I have the 67 and 68 right now. Robert, there is a relearn for the crank sensor, but it's only after it starts. The sensor you got was either an 05 sensor. So what does that mean? I don't know what that means. An 05? Yeah, I don't know, because we just matched it up. You know, whenever we gave him the looked up 07 Suburban, and then we matched it up to the what I had. So maybe it just needs to be a whole different sensor. I don't know. Robert says his measurements are in the shop. Bob, I just went through the crank sensor problem on my son-in-law's truck, and the new sensor was bad. See, I don't have a way to check that. So that's another issue, that it may actually be the sensor itself is defective. You never know, right? And Robert says, might be 40 and an eighth, give or take a little. Robert says, 2005 sensor won't work at all. It fits, but doesn't work. Okay. So we're back to, I may be back just getting a whole nother sensor. Maybe I need to go to like Napa or something. Or the dealer. I'm sure they would love to have my money. But one way or another, I'll get it fixed up. So, we were talking, I think Rick was asking about like junkyard stories, right? And I guess in a sense, I can look back at some of the stuff we did at the junkyard. And I talked about this some in the video that I made. Like my dad built the shop and everything. And of course I wasn't even born when he did all that stuff. And when I was there, I kind of wish I would have filmed some of this. He was talking to the land manager about what he did to build that shop. Now, I believe there are some pictures of it under construction where I may have posted those, but he did all the concrete, and the concrete that was, because my dad was a heavy construction carpenter, by the way. So he did concrete forms for big industries and banks and all that sort of thing. And he was saying that all of the concrete that was in the garage was hand mixed. That he and maybe my uncle hand mixed. They didn't have somebody pour it. They hand mixed it and laid it out themselves. And that concrete, I can tell you, was flat. There was no cracks in that thing ever that I remember. And so he did all that work, and then he did the all the block work himself. And he was telling the guy about these beams, because my dad would salvage stuff from the construction sites. And there's a beam that runs down between the two halves of the garage. One side's tall and one side's short. And that beam, I can't tell you I just can't say how big that beam is. But that beam is probably at least 18 inches tall, maybe even taller. And the width on it is, at the base, it's at least a foot wide. At least. And he was telling this guy, he hauled that thing home using a 57 Chevy truck and some sort of I don't even know how he did it. He was trying to explain it, and I was like, you did what? This beam is massive. And somehow he got it home and figured out a way to put it in place. I don't know the details about it. But it was, interesting to see hear him talk about some of that stuff. So, it's really sad at this point that there's no chance of that property ever being back in our family's name or anything. And it was depressing to look around and see all the everything grown up, because even at one point they were my a friend of the family was mowing the property, keeping everything in check. He's done with that. He's not doing it anymore, and of course, it's just going to grow up and become overgrown. So, but it was kind of cool to again get a look in there and remember some things and get a chance to walk around the house again. But I was really disappointed. And I use the term my brother's widow. I won't say my sister-in-law. I will say my brother's widow, who had sold off everything. And when we were going through the house, there were still personal items in there. I was shocked. All my brother's racing trophies were still in there. His arm wrestling trophies were in there. There was some of my sister's personal stuff was up in the attic, and so yeah, it was really really disappointing to see a bunch of that stuff. And there was some furniture that I had made in high school that was still in there. So anyway, that's kind of where I'm at with the junkyard stuff right now. It's depressing to think about it, but it's also good to have the memories of the stuff that we did while we were there. Growing up in that environment. Let's see. Michael Pagliarini, get the crank sensor from your local GM dealer. Make sure the wires are not green or broken inside the loom. And yes, there is a relearn. It would be under special functions on a scanner. Okay. Yeah, I just have a basic scanner. I don't think it has any of that function on it. But thank you for that, Michael. Ray Buckman, the winner of the welder. Good evening, Barry and everyone. It was a great day. High of 80 degrees in Colorado Springs. Awesome. I would take that. Yes, Ray won the welder. I've already given his information to Art Captain. They have contacted him, and so he will be getting his prize package coming very soon. So congratulations, Ray. I'm glad you're here, and you were able to take advantage of finishing third. Third place gets the trophy today. Robert says, see about a Delco Delphi sensor. I have had problems with that type of sensor for any brand. Aftermarket ones are hit or miss. Okay. Todd, working on a Dynacorn 3638 SWT full floor Mustang convertible, similar to your Broken Pony, but a 64. Okay. Now I get it. I think, did you put that up there earlier, the numbers? I think it was you. There was, I don't know. It's a blur now. But good. Michael, hello from Flaherty, Kentucky. Thank you for posting the Studebaker video. That was great. Well, thank you, Michael. And you know what? Flaherty is very close. Very close to where my brother lived. Dave Tyson old home video was great. Yeah, thanks. There's another video out there that I made. I show some of the footage from I think '92. So, yeah. But thank you, Dave. J.C. Meyer. So in a recent video, you talked about not putting the torque box between the floor and frame rail. Is that the route you are going? That is the plan at this point. What I want to do, and I actually have the torque box sitting up here. I don't know if I have the other half, where the other half is right now. But what I plan to do is create a joggle. And if you're not familiar with that, a joggle is basically a piece of metal comes, bends up a little bit, so it has just a little step in it. They call it a joggle. That's going to be the plan, is I want to create a joggle so that I can go on the bottom side of the frame rail. Instead of making a sandwich on top and having a gap, I'm going to make the sandwich from underneath. and have that joggle meet the floor pan and overlap the frame rail. That way the floor pan is going to fit nice and flush, and it should alleviate any of those problems. I can still weld it in just like it was before, though. Just got to drill holes through it and weld it to that bottom plate. So that's the plan. So thank you for that. Brian, the quarter glass. Wait a minute. Quarter glass. Hold on. I don't know what that means. Quarter glass, and I bought my parts car for 2 pieces of stainless, a seal between the door glass, which is unavailable, and you got the rest of the car as a bonus. Okay. So you got extra parts now. A whole bonus car. That's a good thing. Cowboy, howdy Barry. It's been a while. It has. I can't say how long. And glad I could make it here. Glad you're back, even if it's been an extended period of time. Evans Garage, JC, at least in a 67, the upper torque went above the frame rail, but you do have to massage the firewall to lay flat against it. I'm curious about the route Barry takes. Yes. Yeah, I'm going to demonstrate that and get that figured out. I'll show everybody. Ray Buckman, LOL, third wins this time. I got to remember that. Cowboy says, hey there in front of Craftsman. How you been, brother? Rick Gain, you need a bi-directional scanner to do a crank position relearn on a Chevy. Well, I don't have one of those. You know, it's funny. We talk about this, and I've mentioned this before. I get all kinds of collaboration offers, sponsor offers, right? And I've had several offers for like really nice scanners, like really, really nice scanners. And I've responded to 1 or 2 of those. And when I responded to those, it took a while for one to get a response back. So the person I had responded to, they said they are no longer at that company. They had moved to another company. I was like, well, crud. So I've been kind of waiting for somebody to get on board with that. What's funny is I get so many offers, and I post these on Facebook. I get offers for like linen, bed linens. I get offers for a coffee set, like a ceramic or a porcelain looking whatever. You know, it's like they don't even look at what my channel is, and they try to get me to, you know, do these videos. But speaking of which, let me show you something that I do. I will be making a video. It's going to be my other channel, the workshop channel, and I haven't started the video yet. But I've got this. I got this is a little handheld. I say little. It's not very big. It's a chainsaw for like trimming bushes or limbs or stuff. It's a little cordless chainsaw. Now I've done a video on one of these before, the Cobalt brand. That's more like a traditional chainsaw. But this little thing, I'm going to try to make a video for them. And heads up on this, I will be doing. They are offering a giveaway. Okay. So when I make that video for the workshop channel, they said they will provide another one to give to a winner. So if you're not already on the workshop channel, you need to get on there and, you know, hit the subscribe button and the bell notification, and maybe you'll win a little handheld chainsaw. Maybe. So Robert's saying, the cowboy, hot and miserable. Okay. Charles, I was truly impressed with your childhood home. Your dad was a true American, very talented. You know, thank you, Charles. He was, he did a lot of stuff, and he was pretty good at a lot of stuff that he did. Unfortunately, I think it was, I don't know if I talked about this or not. He was in 1988, because I was still in the Army at the time. And this would have been probably early 1988. He was on a construction site, so he would have been 40, like 46, I think is how old he was. 46. he was on a construction site and there was an explosion. It was a swimming pool at a college, and the pool didn't have water in it, and they were bleeding out the lines for the boiler. Everything was still being built, and basically there was an explosion, and he ended up getting really injured, really severely injured. I think he had 3 herniated discs in his back, and his leg was mangled up pretty bad, and he's never been the same since. But he did all kinds of stuff, building things, and I've talked about it before. He would come up with a vision of a machine that he wanted to build, and he would build the thing. Like he wanted a forklift, so he built himself a forklift out of tractor parts, an old truck frame. I remember seeing that thing. He had built it and never used it. He just wanted this. He wanted to see if he could do it, and he built this thing. It was like a straight truck frame, like a heavy 5-ton chassis or whatever. And he built it to where he sat basically over the engine, or like the engine was like at his back, and the back of the truck was the front of the forklift. Okay. He had 2 transmissions in that thing because he wanted to gear it down. So he had one transmission into another transmission, so he could manipulate it. He could have a 4-speed and another 4-speed, and he could control how fast that thing went. And it had a lift on the front. It was from a tractor, and he built forks. I mean, he built the whole thing, and I think he used it once or twice and was like, okay, I did it. He built all kinds of stuff like that, and you think about it. He grew up in an era where you had to create your own stuff a lot of times, and so he would just get an idea and run with it. And I understand that, and I think I have that kind of instinct in me as well, where I get an idea and it's like, oh, I could do that. Let me go. Let's get it done. So, but thank you, Charles. Cowboys talking to Infernal. Back and forth. Says it's been 3 years. I had some life things come up. Started welding school this week too. Good. Welding school was good. Robert, I wish I had Barry's weather so I could make progress without waiting for winter. Yeah. Car guy Troy, a bit late. What did I miss? Well, you have to watch again. Can't tell you. Ray, that's awesome about the chainsaw, that these companies are helping out your viewers. It is. Now, I try to encourage that with anybody who's trying to get on board with stuff. If you want me to do a video, I want viewers to be able to take advantage of that too, and that's why I try to encourage them. If you want to, if you can give me one to give away, that would be fantastic. So, as you know, our captain is on board and doing their part with that. Cowboy, that homemade forklift your dad built sounds like the old Spicer semi-transmissions. Yeah, I don't know. I think these were like 4 speeds out of a like a 50 Chevy truck or something. I don't know. He had it all rigged up. He built all the bracket. I mean, it was really quite impressive. And then on the back, in front of the engine, he had a 50. I don't know, it's a 55 or 33 gallon drum attached to the back, full of concrete, to help counterbalance things. As you know, a forklift in an industry, they have. I think the difficulty was the length was too long, so you could drive it around. In fact, he reversed the steering. I remember now he had to steer, because the steering, if you think about it, you're trying to manipulate. It's like a forklift. The steering actually goes backwards of what your mind tells you, so that you can make the forks turn. And the back wheels are doing the opposite. So he did that same thing with this forklift thing that he built, but it was so long that I think it limited its use, because a forklift, those things weigh tons, and the offset is the mass, and the fact that the fork is at close to the main body, so it just goes up and down. Whereas what he created was more of a bucket system, so it's like a tractor bucket. So it worked, but it was still just needed some fine tuning. Brian, my point was I paid $700 for the entire car for less than I would have paid for those two parts. Left and right, look for those deals. That is a very good point. That is a very good point, especially when you're building something like yours, which the production of parts or aftermarket parts is very limited. So that's a very good point. Jerry, I wish we had Barry's weather so I could stop hearing Robert complain about our weather. Robert says, we can move, then Barry and I can build lots of cool stuff. Yep, that would be cool. Bob Shoemaker, our parents were of the generation that did it all for themselves, and we have some of it in us, but the new generations lack any of it. Yeah, that is unfortunate. It's one of those things where life is hard, so you learn how to take care of yourself, and then life becomes easy, so you kind of forget about those things, and then it becomes hard again, so it just kind of bounces back and forth. Yeah, that's where we're at. What did they say? There's some sort of statement that says times are hard. I don't know, something about the same kind of sequence. Times are hard, so men work or people work to make it easier, and then the young generation forgets those things, or they don't learn those things, and then it drops off again, it becomes hard again, difficult. Jerry says, I am not commuting. Michael, when your brother scrapped most of the stuff at the junkyard, were there so many school buses filled with scrap parts? Flaherty is where Junior lived. Yeah. Yeah. He, there were buses full of stuff, but I don't know what happened with all those parts, all that stuff. It's all gone. I don't know exactly what happened to all that stuff, because it was not under my control at that time. He was taking charge of all that, and so I don't really know what happened. But there were tons of stuff there. Yeah. So I need to find. I don't. Well. Oh, there you go. Michael, send me an email. Email's at the bottom of the screen. Send me an email. If we haven't already communicated that way, send me an email. Ray says, I was wondering if Lilina saw that. Yeah. Ray, that's true, Bob. My dad was one of those I can do anything, and often did. I remember doing concrete work with him, laying 16 by 8 by 8 blocks, and we even built a carport. Yeah. Yeah, it was, like I said, my dad did all kinds of stuff, and there were a lot of projects that he didn't finish. We'll say that, but we always had a place to sleep. That's the important part. Robert, I keep an eye out for cheap project cars here just in case. I can always store it at a friend's place as he has room. Not many of them left anymore. Yeah. That's it. That's the thing. I've seen projects pop up. Like I recently saw a project pop up on the on I think Marketplace, and it was a 65, and the guy had a 302 already machined, had all new parts. It had a new quarter panel on the left side. It needed the right quarter panel, and it looked like a really decent car, but they wanted like $5,000 for it, and I thought that's not bad. And then I looked, and it was a 6-cylinder car. It started life as a 6-cylinder car, And so what you run into, I know that there's a stigma. Like we see a car with four lug wheels, and we realize it was a six-cylinder car, and it's like, I don't really want that one. It's getting to the point now where it's like, I almost have to get that one because we're running out. I feel like the good cars are disappearing, and so you have to start looking at those cars, even if you have to convert it to a five lug and put the V8 in it and all that sort of thing. So yeah, it's getting hard to find some of these cars anymore. And I'm always looking. I'm always looking. I don't have any place to put them anymore, but I'm always looking. Cowboy, all right, you guys, it's been fun. I have a couple hundred more hay bales to move. Love y'all and be safe. Glad you're here, Cowboy. Car guy Troy bought another car, 1982 280Z. Now have two 67 Mustang converts, 1996 Cobra convertible, 1995 GT convertible, 76 C20 camper special, 21 Bronco two-door first edition 03. Yeah, okay, you got a lot of stuff. You got a lot of stuff. Rusty, that's how my stable got full marketplace. Yeah, there's still stuff out there. You just have to find it. Jerry, I finally closed the deal for the 49 Chevy Coupe, 42 Chevy Coupe, and the 63 Ford Thunderbird. I'll be making the trip to West Texas to pick them up in September. Well, maybe you could meet Robert out there. I don't know where exactly you're going, but Robert is out there in Texas. Texas is just only this big on the map, so it's probably just right next door. Rusty's Restoration, incredible. I bought has a 289, but was a six-cylinder. Yeah. Yep. Car guy Troy. Yeah, I might have a slight issue. My insurance guy loves me, always looking for a deal. Yeah, I understand that. Jerry says the 42 Chevy is actually a 52. Well, I get that, because 42, I'd be like, that's kind of hard to find something that's a 42. Let's see. Rick, I picked up a 94 351 Windsor block and crank for free. Guy had lots of other stuff. Got a set of Roush World Products Windsor heads for $200. Well, that's a steal. That's the steal of the day. I would be happy to have all that. Whoops, Dave. One of my Mustangs is a 6, and I want to build a hot rod 6-cylinder. Okay. Nothing wrong with that. Nothing wrong with that. That's what Jerry did with his. Robert may be here depending on when. Still planning our vacation for next month. Not sure where yet. Thinking Antarctica. Yeah, anywhere. Well, maybe Alaska. Colorado is nice. Temperatures are down in Colorado. I have the weather app on my phone, and I'm always looking at the weather out in Breckenridge, just because we were out there, a few years ago. And Breckenridge, it's currently 64 degrees. So if you're looking, check out Breckenridge. Lows are in the 40s, highs are in the mid 60s. So there you go. And surprisingly enough, Alaska, because we went up to Juneau a few years back, 50s, 50 to 60, roughly. So if that's a criteria, look at Colorado going out to Breckenridge. Okay. So we talked about some of the stuff going on with the road trip and all that sort of thing. And I must say that the guy that I met out in Ohio, what a super nice guy. And he was an inspiration to me, honestly. When I went out there, I wasn't sure what to expect. I didn't know anything about him other than we had hooked up on Marketplace. and it was Studebaker page or something, and he he was fine with me coming in there and looking around and filming stuff, but the guy was, if I remember correctly, he said he was 70 years old, and he is still turning wrenches, painting cars, putting stuff together. He had those cars out front for sale, and he picked up that 20, whatever year it was, 22, 28, 22. I don't know what it was. The Studebaker that he had started up. I want to say 22 for some reason. But anyway, he had gone to like West Virginia the week before to pick that up. And some of the cars he had gone out west to get. And so this guy is like still hustling, still doing stuff. And he didn't have air conditioning in his shop. He didn't have the greatest lighting. He didn't have whatever, but he was still cranking his stuff out. And I was like, I was very surprised and impressed. And his knowledge was great. We were talking about some of the cars, and I would, made the assumption this is that, and nope, that's a blah blah blah, and he would correct me, and I was like, okay, that makes sense. But having some of the oddball stuff, and then y'all didn't see that was just the stuff in his building. He was pulling out his phone and showing, this is my so and so, this is my so and so, this is my so and so. I'm like, wow. I mean, the cars he was showing me were like show car stuff that he had, and I don't know where they were in relation to that shop, but I didn't have time to go and look for any of that. Now he did get me he had the fenders and what I call the front valance. I think he called it a splash pan or something, but he had all that stuff. And as we're talking, I said, I'm looking for doors and a deck lid. And I wish I didn't have the time because I had to go visit somebody else. But he called up a buddy of his and said that he had a deck lid off a convertible that he is just sitting around. And the price was good, but it was not where I needed it. It wasn't on my route. So I know that there's more parts out there. I can get them. I think he's coming down to Cruising the Coast this fall, and so I don't know if we can connect and figure that out. But man, it was just so refreshing to spend some time with that guy and get inspired by seeing that he's still hustling and doing this stuff. Jerry says, as soon as I get the dates confirmed, I'll let Robert know. There will be at least 2 trips, depending on how many cars I can get in my trailer. Okay. And Charles, I don't need any more projects. I have a 57 F100 step side with a Y block, have all parts to make it an automatic, and have the full Paxton VR57 supercharger set up for the Y block, plus the 70 Mach 1 351 Cleveland. Yeah. Yeah. And it's easy to get projects. It's hard to get them done. Sometimes. But I know that we're having a good time working on this project and getting it together. I'm really, really excited about getting pieces on this floor pan right now. And I have a video that's going to be coming out. I'm trying to decide if I want to go this far yet. I have the whole side assembly ready to go. I've straightened out all the flanges and everything from where I've taken it apart, and I've mocked it up on the floor pan and everything. I talk about I want zeros for measurements. I want zeros. I want to know that this measurement is exactly where this measurement needs to be, and that's what I've run into. I put the wheelhouses, I know you can't see it, but I set the wheelhouse in place in an effort to help mock up the rocker panel. And with the wheelhouse, I can tell you, I just eyeballed it. I said, okay, this gap, this is where it needs to be, clamped it all in place, put it on. I have not moved it. Well, I took the side panel, put it on top of the rocker, started clamping it in place, and when I got the sides, they had taken screws and screwed the wheelhouse to the side panel, right? So it could be, I don't know if I can tilt this camera around or not. So let me see here. So there you see the wheelhouse. So that is sitting, I feel like it's exactly where it needs to be. So I set the whole side of the car on here, and there's still screws in that top of the wheelhouse. There's the screws holding the two pieces together. When I set the side on, those screw holes lined up, dead on. And so I put the screws in it, and I checked, I clamped everything to the pinch weld where it's going to be welded on. And then I took some measurements, and I went, because I have from that side over there, the top of the rocker panel, I have a measurement from there to what would be the top, like this part of the car, where the pinch weld is, right there, and that measurement was 61 inches. And when I had everything clamped on, it was exactly 61 inches. So I already know that it's going to line up exactly where it needs to be, and that's why I always tell people, you test fit, test fit, test fit. Make sure that before you weld anything, you're happy with where it's at. Now, I may or may not fully weld that on. I may just weld a few spots just to keep it from moving, because I know the wheelhouse will hold it as well, at least temporarily. And then I can work on the other side, get that apart, and start cleaning everything up and get it on the driver's side. Once I do that, I can put the other side up and then connect the two at the top. So that's the goal, is to make sure I get all those pieces interacting. Ray says, Barry, are you saving the driver's side outer rocker as well? Yes, I am. Yep, I will be saving that. But I didn't want to, I only wanted to cut off one side at a time. That's how I do things. Try to take care of one side, work to the other side. And what I may end up having to do, the only real conflict with any of this at this point, if we look back this way, because this is sitting on the trailer jig, once I put that side on, it may not clear, I'm just going to get my finger right, it may not clear the Studebaker. So I may have to do some shuffling around again to get it to be able to move things. And what that may mean, it may mean that I've finished disassembling that body so that I can get the rusty stuff out of here and then move things around. So I may be coming to that point where I don't have much choice but to start separating the rest of it. Otherwise, I think things are going pretty good. What else? Was there something else? I don't remember anything in particular else that I need to bring up at this point. But I still have that the engine and transmission for the Studebaker sitting on the trailer. I don't know what I'm going to do with those yet. I get a feeling I don't need them. I know the 4-speed I definitely don't need. That is a massive, big truck 4-speed, and that's what my brother had in his Studebaker pickup. But I don't. I need to just. I don't even know if somebody wants it. I mean, you'd have to have one of those big trucks to justify having that great big transmission. Otherwise, I may just have to scrap it because I don't know what else I'm going to do with it. And the engine, I don't know the status of it entirely. I'll have to figure that out as well. Terry says Betty wants to know, how is Ollie doing? Ollie is doing great. If you haven't seen, the last video I put out, we had Ollie on our trip, our little Chihuahua. He's an old man now. He's probably, I don't know, 11, at least 11 years old, somewhere on that range. And he absolutely adores my wife. That dog, if she's anywhere in the vicinity, he wants to be on her lap, follows her to the bathroom. Anywhere she goes, he's right there. He wants to be right with her. So, and I guess the cat's okay too. Ollie's doing good. I think the cat's still alive. I don't worry about as much about the cat as I do the dog. In fact, since you brought it up, I went in the house earlier and I thought my wife was cooking something for supper. I was like, man, it sure smells good in here. And I said, what you making? I saw she had a pressure cooker out or something. But yeah, pressure cooker. And I said, what are you making? And she's making them dog food. And I said, what? She's making the dog food. I said, dog's eating better than I am. Roger says, Ollie doesn't like me. Yeah. Yeah, you're within 100 yards of but he calms down once he sees you. Once he gets close to you, he understands. He doesn't consider you a threat. Anyway, I think that's going to be it. There's not much else I need to talk about. I do have part 14 in the process that I'm working on right now. I need to see where I want to cut that off. If I want to do the side or save that for the next video, I don't know yet. But I do have part 14 in the works for sure. Terry says you better include the cat. Yeah. Car guy Troy, my wife cooks for our dog too, and the cats. Oh, I'm not cooking for the cat. I'm okay with her cooking for the dog. The cat's on its own. Anyway, I got to get in the house and get something to eat. It's good to be back. I'm glad everybody was here and participating. It was nice to have good questions, good interaction, and the plan is to be back next week. Of course, Monday. I know we're trying to. I'm ready to go use the motorhome and start doing some runs in that thing. I did manage to get. I have a tow dolly, and I need to do some test runs towing the car behind the tow dolly, so make sure all that works. But I think it'll be fine. But yeah, that's going to be it for tonight, and I'll be back next Monday. I guess it'll be the 21st of August. So have a good night, and until next time, take care of yourselves. See ya.